nothing like a fast call, is there? 78070. And you had to text DVD to 78070 to get the plain TV presentation of the show. Have to be up earlier than that to catch me out, I tell you. So waiting for the Stardust and taxi back, then the Red Arrows and taxi out. Backtrack a little bit on the runway, not entirely certain which taxiway they're going to take to get out on the runway, because we've got one of the taxiways on the north side with the Avro Vulcan, which is part of this side of the Super Constellation. So the north side is section 1 of the aircraft. There as well. So we've managed to get back on schedule, pretty much. And for again some different airspace configurations, having to be checked for the display by the red arrows. We have to make the airspace from Blackbush Airfield, which is about 3.8 miles north of here, as well as what we call top hat, higher altitude airspace that we're borrowing from London Heathrow and London Gatwick airspace. I must point out our thanks to the air traffic controllers here, the tag operation here, who work so well together to get the validation week together and to get this show together, and also with that, because the controllers have to interact with the other airspace used around the whole area, and it's worked so well, and I know it's been very hard work for them, so our particular thanks from Farnborough International Limited to TAG and the air traffic controllers both here and at Drayton and at local airfield. The arrows to backtrack, as you can see. It is not an easy thing to do to get sidewalks out on the runway in the right order. There's no point lining up thinking, hang on, I shouldn't be there. So it's all practice, it's all plan. And sorry, there might be anything. The last two checks in, having a look around, checking the airspace, checking the box. Everything about speed. If you can find the on button on the microphone, I need to slide it up mine and then find it on. So don't bang a microphone, it hurts in my ears if you go out there. No, I can do that. I can see your lips moving, but I can't hear anything. Ah, it's great, the lips. I can do this all by ventriloquist on, guys. I don't know. The cutting edge of a fighter pilot. Can't turn on a microphone. Right, Mike. With no hurry. There we go. She's really lined up. No hurry at all.
Well, a very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I'm Squad Leader Mike Lee. I'm the supervisor with the Royal Air Force Aerobatic Team, the Red Arrows. I'm going to be talking you through this afternoon's display in the beautiful blue sky here at the Farnborough International Air Show. The jets are lining up now on runway 24. They're going to be performing a display takeoff. At the front you've got reds 1, 2 and 3. The middle section consists of red 4 and 5 at the extremities of the runway. And at the back red 6, 7, 8 and 9. So soon you'll hear the 9 Rolls-Royce Adore engines power up, ready for the takeoff. I'll let you listen in to some of the radio calls as those are ready to depart. So 750 feet in front of the rear section, red 6 calls that's good for 5. They then stop, line abreast on either side of the runway, and red 5 is going to call, and red 1 is 750 feet in front of red 4 and 5. The 9 headlights come on, yeah, here. So Reds 1, 2 and 3 creep airborne. Reds 4 and 5 hop to the sky. And now Reds 6, 7, 8 and 9 lift off. You'll shortly see Red 7 on the far right of that back four. He'll tuck in to form a 4-ship box. And the idea now is that we're going to get all 9 aircraft together into one formation as quickly as possible. You already see that Reds 4 and 5 have joined Red 1, 2 and 3. Then Red 6 will call for Red 1 to turn, and then enter a left-hand turn. And that back four then comes left also to form diamond. They'll go positioning the aircraft ready to start the display. The pilots will trim the jets, they'll prime the smoke systems, ready to run in just a few minutes' time. Well, 2014 is a huge year for the Red Arrows. It is in fact our 50th display season. And in 50 display seasons, the team has performed over 4,500 public displays in 56 countries around the world. Well, back in 1965, that first display season, the team was formed as an amalgamation of a number of other Royal Air Force display teams. The Yellow Jacks, the Black Arrows and the Red Pelicans were popular teams in that era, but it was decided that only one full-time aerobatic team should be established, and therefore the Red Arrows were formed. So you can see now they've rolled out downwind behind us. They're in Diamond 9 and they're going to position to start the display in a couple of minutes. Well, as our name, the Royal Air Force Aerobatic Team suggests, we do belong to the Royal Air Force. The Royal Air Force purpose today is twofold. It's to protect the nation and its interests 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And it's also to provide the nation with choices during times of crisis. The Black Arrows in combat there with the Spark Red Fleet, or with our newly updated Air Mobility Fleet, supports ongoing operations and to deliver humanitarian aid across the globe. We do have a battle-winning capability that is achieved by using very high-end technology, which is used by very capable people. The Royal Air Force Aerobatic Team's purpose is to demonstrate the strength and relevance of the Royal Air Force, most importantly by demonstrating the quality and excellence of its people and the world-class training that they have received. The Red Arrows are a military unit of around 120 personnel. We all volunteer to join the team, and our command structure is broadly similar to that of every other fast jet squadron in the Royal Air Force. We are commanded by Wing Commander Neil Fraser. He is in charge of all of the administrative, safety and disciplinary aspects of the squadron. He is a Harrier pilot. You can see the Harrier displaying this now. He used to fly the Harrier, and he's in his 3rd year with the Red Arrows. Wing Commander Fraser then commands 10 pilots, including myself, and up to the pilots on the team all wear red suits. But underneath the pilots are the support sections. They all wear blue suits. They're primarily made up of engineers, but we do have photographers, suppliers, administrators and drivers who help represent a spectrum of the ground trade within the Royal Air Force. The blues outnumber the reds by about 10 to 1. They truly are the hard-working members of the team. Their constant effort to make sure that our busy summer season is a success. There are a few of the blues here at the Farnborough Air Show, so if you see somebody in a blue flying suit with a Red Arrows crest on their arm, please do pat them on the back and pass on our thanks for their efforts. We have 3 types of display we can fly depending on the weather. Our full display allows looping manoeuvres to be flown. That needs a minimum cloud base of 5,500 feet. If it's lower than that, we'll fly our rolling display, which allows the formation barrel rolls to be flown. That's also coupled with the airspace. I think Stratton said that the air traffickers here go through a lot of effort to give us full airspace. And Red 1 has just said they're going to start with a full display. Arriving in a big V shape known as Big Battles, they'll be at 400 miles an hour and the jets 20 feet apart. Please, a big round of applause now, ladies and gentlemen. Here they are, the Royal Air Force Aerobatic Team, the RedArrows. Filling up at 4G, Red 1 now calls them into short diamond formation where you'll see the aircraft collapse to around 6 to 8 feet away from each other. They reach 6,000 feet or a mile above us at the top of this loop. Red 1 at the front there is squadron leader Jim Turner. It's his third and final year as the team's leader. He is a former Jaguar pilot by trade, but he's very experienced in the display world, having displayed the Jaguar. Spent 3 years previously with the RedArrows, including leading the synchro pair, but recently he has spent 3 years as the official advisor to the Royal Saudi Air Force's display team. Reds 2 and 3 acknowledge the move to Eagle. They do so with very metronomic cadence in their voices. The idea is that as they count 4 in their heads, the pilots extend their air brakes. And on 6, all the pilots retract their air brakes, which enables all 3 jets on each wing to drop back in unison to form Eagle. And now in from the right, it's the Eagle roll. As the jets go upside down, boys and girls, let's give the pilots a big wave. Well, when the RedArrows first started flying their displays in 1965, the aircraft they used was the Folland Gnat, and that was the aircraft used by the Yellowjacks team I mentioned earlier. It was the advanced jet trainer in the Royal Air Force at that time. But in 1976, the Hawk Assembly Hawk entered service, and in 1980, the RedArrows started using the Hawk, which is the aircraft we still use today. It's now a product of BAE Systems. It's a very successful export, having been sold to over 19 countries across the world, and it still continues to impress in its guise as the advanced jet trainer. The smoke goes off to our front. Reds 4 and 5 have moved forward to now form the shape of the Russian fighter jet, the Su-27. Coming in from the front left, the NATO code word for the Su-27 is flanker. Now about to form a very wide shape. Red 8 and 9 will move to the outside of the formation, and from Red 9's left wingtip through to Red 8's right wingtip, the formation will measure 100 metres or 300 feet. To enable them to keep the formation as one as they manoeuvre around the sky, the outside pilots really have to anticipate their control input, and they do that by using the cadence that Red 1 has in his voice command. But now in from the left, we're going to have some really patriotic red, white and blue, as you can please a huge round of applause as they show you Phoenix. There's that cadence in Red 1's voice. On the leader's right wing is the first of our 2 first-year pilots for 2014. He's Red 2 Flight Lieutenant Stu Campbell. Stu is a former Tucano instructor teaching basic fast jet flying training. He's also been the Tucano display pilot. Operationally, he flew the Tornado GR4. Out to the right, the team have formed our trademark shape, and now in true 1960s and 70s style, all 9 jets will smoke as they fly the Diamond Roll. Have a big wave, boys and girls. But we fly our formations with the odd-numbered pilots on the left-hand side, the even-numbered pilots fly on the right-hand side. And in their 3-year tour with the team, the pilots will generally start at the front near the leader. and as their proficiency improves, they move further back. On the leader's left wing now is Red 3, Flight Lieutenant Joe Hurston. He's the other first-year pilot for this year. Joe is a former Hawk flying instructor and Tornado GR4 pilot. In fact, Joe is the only pilot on the team who is instructed on both this version of Hawk, the Hawk T Mark 1, and also on the Royal Air Force's new Advanced Jet Trainer, the BAE Systems Hawk T Mark 2. Out to the left, the smoke's on. We're forming a very iconic shape. This is of the supersonic airliner. Cameras ready, and they are about to fly the Concorde loop. At the bottom of the loop, 400 miles an hour, they pull up at 4G, you'll see the formation change again. As they make apex to the top of here, they'll be about 6,000 feet. The jets will have slowed down to about 150 miles an hour, which means the G has backed off to about 1G. As they go over the top, they start coming down the other side, they start accelerating back up to 400 miles an hour. The G's building up to around 4G. They're now in a shape called feathered arrow. That's a mouthful to say, so we call it Fred. That is the end of the first half of the RedArrows display, ladies and gentlemen. So far you've seen all 9 aircraft performing close formation aerobatics. We're now going to split down into sections of 2, 3, 4, 5 or 7 aircraft and show you some more dynamic manoeuvring. At the front of the formation are Reds 1 to 5. We call them Enid, after Enid Blyton's famous 5. And at the back of the formation are Jippo, Red 6 to 9. Jippo was the nickname of the gentleman who first led the back 4 aircraft when the RedArrows started officially flying 9-ship displays in 1968. Out to the front they're forming that very wide phoenix shape again. It's definitely time to get your cameras ready. They roll out directly towards us. Reds 1 to 5, 8 to 9, pull up in wide phoenix. Keep your eyes on the blue smoke synchro pair beneath. This is the palm split. With his smoke changing from blue to white on the left-hand side is Red 6. He's the leader of the synchro pair, Flight Lieutenant James McMillan. It's his 3rd and final year as a RedArrow. He was actually brought up in New Zealand, but when they disbanded their fast jet fleet, he transferred to the Royal Air Force and became a Hawk flying instructor and Harrier pilot. On the left, Red 6 is followed by Red 8. On the right with the smoke is Red 7, chased by Red 9. These 4 aircraft are now closing at 850 miles an hour. Cameras ready for the amazing Jippo pass. Synchro pair leave their smoke on. They're turning away from us now at 6G, or 6 times the force of gravity. That means everything in their bodies weighs 6 times more than normal. Those pilots work hard to counter those G-forces as they roll out towards us for the cyclone. As the synchro pair slingshot out to the front, you need to look to your left for Enid. The wings of Enid drop down to form an inverted V-shape. Look to the right. There's a lone jet, that is Red 9, who's now going to fly the Goose. Riding sweetly with a red, white and blue stripe is Red 9. the right, Lieutenant Mike Giles. It's his third and final year as a Red Arrow, a former Hawk pilot, instructor and display pilot, in fact, and operationally he flew the Typhoon. You saw a display earlier, the Royal Air Force's new multi-role combat aircraft. To the right, he inclines steeply, but look directly to the front, above the Omega tanker for the Synchro pair. They pull up at 500 miles an hour and 5G in line astern. The aircraft reach a height of just under 7,000 feet. They put their white smoke on as they get ready to draw a heart. Now keep your eyes to the top left of the heart for another jet as we add a final touch. Coming in from the top left with the smoke on is Red 8, Flight Lieutenant Martin Pertz. It's Pert's third and final year with the team, a former Hawk instructor, Hawk display pilot and Harrier pilot. Ladies and gentlemen, Synchro and Red 8 with their heart and spear. Left and right again for the Synchro pair. They descend into their display height of 100 feet. And they're going to perform the opposition barrel roll. Now look to your right, 45 degrees, you'll see Ian and are being joined by Reds 8 and 9. In fact, Red 8 is now still joining them, having flown around at 600 miles an hour to catch them up after spearing the heart. Just getting into a 7-ship Vixen formation. Pulling up at 4G in that Vixen formation. Now twisting this loop towards us through 90 degrees in a quarter clover. Now get your cameras ready. This is the vertical break. Left and right again now for the Synchro pair. This time, Red 6 comes from our right and Red 7 from our left. They're closing at 800 miles an hour. They're going to cross 3 times in opposing 360 degree 6G turns. Get ready now for the carousel. They are pulling 6G. Now watch at each of these 3 crosses. The pilots will swap their smoke colours using the individual colour control buttons on the aircraft's control column. Now take your eyes over to the right, 45 degrees. In Leaders Benefit formation, straight above the Flight Safety International building, they are drawing a red, white and blue snake-like shape of smoke in the sky as they fly the Python. On the far right of that Leaders Benefit formation is Red 4. He's Flight Lieutenant Ollie Barney, the 2nd year pilot with the team. Ollie is a former Tornado GR4 pilot, but he has spent a tour as a Hawk flying instructor at Royal Air Force Valley on Anglesey, North Wales, where we teach our advanced flying students. Now keep looking towards the left to find Jippo. Red 6 and 7 now roll upside down in close formation. This is the corkscrew. They're working hard, only 8 feet away from Red 6, but doing it upside down. Now look left for Enid. The inside pilots perform tight match rolls to the outside of the formation in the rollbacks. Finish their rollbacks. Keep your eyes to the right hand side to find Jippo. Once again, Red 6 and 7 are going upside down. The idea now is that Reds 8 and 9 will match their formation underneath. In from the right, this is the mirror pass. Now give the synchro pair a wave as they fly past upside down, boys and girls. Red 6 gives the command for the formation to widen as they form a 4-ship square card formation. Now back to the right 45 degrees. Reds 1 to 4 form a box formation, and here he goes. This is Red 5. He's now going to roll around the rest of Enid a dozen times. This is the twister. Getting very busy with the red smoke is Red 5 Flight Lieutenant Steve Morris. Steve's second year with the team. He's a former Hawk instructor. Operationally, he's flown both the Harrier GR9 and the Tornado GR4 before donning his red suit last year. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're just going to have a pause in the display. Sadly, one of the aircraft has had a bird strike, so we're just going to sort the situation out and I'll keep you updated. Enid are just by the air traffic control tower. They're just holding as we sort the situation out. It's Red 8 who's had the bird strike, and Red 9 is going to perform a visual inspection. Red 6 and 7 are going to join Enid. If an aircraft hits a bird, it doesn't mean the aircraft is going to be damaged, but we'll be performing a visual inspection as a precaution to make sure that the aircraft will be safe to land and that all of the systems will be functioning correctly. brilliant. Our luck with bird strike for the last couple of weeks. We were performing at the Waddington Airshow a week last Saturday, and we had a bird strike there. And then while we were performing our practice and validation here for the Farnborough Airshow last week, Red 7 hit a bird as he flew over the trees to our left. And that aircraft is still here being repaired. So it's not been our luck. I'll keep you updated, but as you can see out to the front, that is Red 9 performing a visual inspection on the Red 8 aircraft. While that visual inspection is going on, I can tell you a little bit more about the team. You can find lots of extra information if you go to our website, raf.mod.uk/red. On Facebook we're RAF Red Arrows, and on Twitter we're @RAF Red Arrows. We do have a Red Arrows stand here at Farnborough. It's just behind the most eastern grandstand. And there are some of our blues there, have some posters and brochures that tell you lots of information with pretty pictures of the aircraft. I'll talk a little bit about me. My role on the team is very varied. I'm the supervisor by trade, so I have to be on the ground at every single public display. I have to make sure that the display site is safe. I coordinate with the air traffic agencies and the Flying Display Director and the Flight Control Committee. I'm actually a former Red Arrows display pilot myself. I spent 3 years with the team from 2008 to 2010 and ended up leading the synchro pair. And in the winter months nowadays I train the new pilots. I perform the air tests on our aircraft. I also fly all of our photographers to get all the air-to-air images that you see of the Red Arrows. So that's my role. It's very varied, very enjoyable. It's actually a staff or ground tour for me, but I spend about 150 hours a year flying the spare Hawk aircraft. It looks as though that's the visual inspection complete. Red 9 is clearing away. You can see the other 7 jets over to our left. Red 1's just put his smoke on. The smoke, in fact, is a good time to talk about. The smoke is produced by injecting regular diesel fuel into the aircraft's 400-degree engine exhaust. That makes it vaporise. That diesel fuel vaporises at those temperatures. To get white smoke, it's pure diesel. To get the red and blue, we simply add a dye to it. And each aircraft can carry 5 minutes of white smoke and a minute each of red and blue. An especially modified container beneath each of the aircraft's fuselage. The smoke, although it looks very pretty, is actually designed to aid flight safety. Obviously when you've got 9 jets flying around at high speed, sometimes 4, 5 or 6 miles away from each other, it's very hard to spot those jets, whereas if you put some smoke on, you can actually find the smoke trail a lot easier than a jet, and at the end of that smoke trail will be the jet who has the smoke on. So Red 9 just called for Red 1 to put his smoke on. Red 8's coming into land on the right. Red 1's just said they are going to position for a fly pass, and then when Red 8's on the ground, they'll use their fly pass and actually land here on the runway. Give Red 8 a wave as he comes past. Had a phone call from our engineering officer, obviously wondering what's going on over the other side of the airfield where you can see our spare jet. No doubt that spare jet will be used tomorrow for our displays as they assess any damage on Red 8 aircraft. What you're going to see now is a fly pass coming in to the left. I'm afraid we've had to curtail the actual display there, but you will see a fly pass very shortly. What you're going to see is the aircraft will have their air brakes extended. The air brake essentially is a panel that hangs down at the back of the jet, and we put that out to create drag, and that slows the aircraft down. The secondary effect of having the air brake out is that you need a much higher power setting, and then that in turn gives us a very deep colour in our red and blue smoke. So they'll have their air brakes out, and then that high power setting, as I just explained about the smoke, it's caused by vaporising diesel. The higher the power setting, the hotter the engine, and therefore the deeper the red and blue colour in the smoke. So you'll see the jets with those panels, or air brakes hanging down at the back, and coming in from the left. So when they arrived to the display, they were in big baffle, that big V shape. When we do it with 8 aircraft, we put one of the aircraft directly behind the leader in line of stern, or in the stem as we call it. So this one with 8 jets is known as pyramid. I've got everyone here at the grandstand and in front of the grandstand. If you could, when they put the coloured smoke on, give the biggest clap and cheer you can. I've got a radio here, and I'll transmit it to the pilots so that they can hear, hopefully, how much you've enjoyed the display. Can we manage that? Oh, they're not going to hear that. It's not a very good radio. In to the left, ladies and gentlemen, the white smoke comes on in pyramid formation. You get your vocal cords warmed up. Into the left, the Royal Air Force aerobatic team, the Red Arrows. We're now going to position to run in for what we call a run in and brake on runway 24. What you're going to see now, they're coming from our right hand side at 350 knots, so around 400 miles an hour. And they'll be peeling off sequentially. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then number 9. They'll go to the right, and in that turn they'll pitch up and pull around 5.5 or 6G. They'll be slowing down downwind to about 200 miles an hour, which then enables them to lower their undercarriage. And then they'll turn finals again, decelerating to around 150 miles an hour, where they reach the touchdown point. If you're staying around for the afternoon, then you could perhaps, if you would like, buy one of our limited edition Red Arrows prints. These are hand-drawn images on a print. They've been hand-signed by all of the Red Arrows pilots, and they are available to purchase from the pilots once they've landed. They'll be over this side of the show site, and they'll be around the Red Arrows tent, which is by the most easterly grandstand, and they'll be walking the crowd. So if you see someone in a red flying suit with some prints, please stop them and buy one. They are a limited number, so it's a first come, first serve. They cost £10. And in fact, you will have noticed that the Red Arrows jets this year have a new tailfin design. That is a 50th anniversary commemorative tailfin, and it has the silhouettes of the Hawks and the predecessor to the Hawks that the Red Arrows used. The followed that, as I mentioned earlier. I'll let you listen on the radio now. Coming in from the right, still in that pyramid formation, the Red Arrows break to land on runway 24. There you go, keep an eye on Red 1's jet. You'll see his air brake go in, and then the undercarriage will be lowered, and then he's about to turn finals on runway 24 right. When he comes down to the touchdown point, you'll see he'll put a little blip of smoke out. That smoke is an indicator to the following aircraft of what the drift is doing, i.e. what's going to happen to Red 1's wake turbulence and his jet wash, so that the aircraft behind know how they're going to be affected as they come into land. So you'll see a bit of smoke come out. The left-hand drift are built, so the guys that are landing on the left-hand side of the runway, i.e. the odd numbers, they fly on the left of the formation, they also land on the left-hand side of the runway. They'll be flying a shallower stack. The guys landing on the right-hand side, the even number pilots, will fly a slightly steeper stack, which means they can punch through any of that weight. Here comes red 1. There's the river smoke. What I did last weekend, they did under the competition, as I called their names out as they taxied past. I got a big cheer. We saw the big pilot was. There's red 1, squadron leader Jim Turner. Coming past the crowd now is red 2, one of our first year pilots, Flight Lieutenant Hugh Campbell. Next up, red 3, Flight Lieutenant Joe Hurston. Red 4's also put a little bit of smoke out, coming past us now, Flight Lieutenant Ollie Parr. Just touching down now on the left-hand side as an odd-numbered pilot is red 5, Flight Lieutenant Steve Morris. Touching down now is red 6, leader of the synchro pair, Flight Lieutenant James McMillan. And in his backseat this afternoon is our senior commander, the Commandant of the Royal Air Force's Sextal Flying School, Group Captain Jamie Hunter. Touching down now, red 7, Flight Lieutenant Mark Lawson. The unfair not to mention red 8, Flight Lieutenant Martin Hurt, who's landed the enemy with that third spot. And last but by no means least, red 9, Flight Lieutenant Mike Child. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry we had to stop the display early. We had to get that aircraft on the ground and we need to give him room to get in, so we had to stop the display. But it has been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very, very much for watching and for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Please put some sun cream on as you enjoy the rest of your afternoon. I wish you all the very best on behalf of the Royal Air Force and from everybody at the Red Arrows. Enjoy, thank you.
Mike, thank you very much indeed. Please do thank the team. I know you practice for all eventualities, and it just shows how polished and how much work goes into putting the team together. What a magnificent part of the display we did see. Do please thank the team.
Thanks, Andy.
Well, I think that was really, truly amazing display, wasn't it, ladies and gentlemen, against that wonderful blue sky, the heart of that tremendous. So next up, we are checking the Parajets. They have put the Parajets out on the north side of the airfield. Wind strength is probably okay for them. Then we're expecting the Spitfire, the Eclipse Jet, the EA 500, and then the Avro Vulcan. So let's have a look how we are. We haven't lost too much time, so we'll just see how we progress.